Boyd from CapeBoydCheerleading.com, and today we're breaking down some different types of coaching styles for you. What kind of coach are you? Well, there are 3 basic types of coaches. These 3 different types of coaches fall along the spectrum. There are 2 extremes and one smack dab in the middle. The first extreme is your authoritarian coach. This one is your more boss-like, your more direct leader. The one that just kind of comes in and takes charge. No questions asked, nothing else in between. That's your authoritarian. Your easygoing coach, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, is the person who basically lets the athletes run the practice. They sort of take a step back and just become a supervisor. And the one in the middle is the cooperative coach. This is probably the most balanced type of coach, where they take direct action, give instruction, are hands-on, but they also take some input from the girls or cheerleaders, athletes of any kind. So, or they work with their leaders to develop those kinds of action. While there are definitely some pros to being authoritarian, there are some cons as well. Some athletes and some teams don't take well to just being bossed around, because that's what this style is going to feel like. You feel like you're giving clear instructions and direct instructions, and you probably are, but they don't feel like they have any control. You're answering a lot of the what to do's without a lot of the why they're having to do it. And so this can create some tension with athletes, some attitude problems, and not a lot of room for fun or laughter or relationship building. So that's the authoritarian. If you go to the other end of the spectrum, your easygoing coach, this is the coach that basically lets the athletes run the show. These athletes, the captains, or even the team in general, they make all of the decisions. They determine what practice looks like. They determine what skills they're going to do. They determine how everything is supposed to look. They do everything. Everything aside from communicate to the parents. So the easygoing style is more of a supervisor and less of a coach per se. So for your casual easygoing coach, there are definitely some pros and cons as well. The pros are that the morale is high. When the girls have a lot of control, they feel better about what they're doing. And they enjoy what they're doing because they're choosing what they're doing. Secondly, it leaves some room for student leadership, for some ownership on the team, and that's not a bad thing. Sometimes having people take ownership makes for a better product, whether that's a better routine or a better cheer or any other kind of performance they may put together. Even if it's not fantastic, at least they enjoyed it and it was something that they did. However, there are also some cons to being an easygoing coach. First of all, it can create tension between the athletes as different decisions are wanting to be made by different people. This can result in some of that drama that we hear so much about in cheerleading. Another con is that you may not see great improvement from your athletes. While they're having fun and enjoying what they're doing, they may not necessarily have the knowledge to really help each other in a safe way, or help each other even improve, because they just don't have that knowledge. There are times when being an easygoing coach can work. You can let one maybe stunt group that knows a lot of what they're doing do their thing with supervision. You're checking on them, they're spotters, you know what's going on, while maybe you work with another set of people who need a little bit more attention, a little bit more time to maybe learn a dance move, or need to know exactly what's going wrong with their stunt so they can fix it because they don't know. So there are times when being the easygoing coach can be helpful. Then, right smack dab in the middle is your cooperative coach. This is the coach who knows what they're doing, gives instruction, but also explains why they're giving instruction, and allows the team to make some of the decisions that impact them but aren't incredibly important necessarily. will you be overwhelmed if we practice 2 more times this week? Which bow do you prefer? How about which stunt would you rather do? Would you rather do the J up, or would you rather do, the extension with a cradle? These are the kinds of choices that they give them so that people are, your athletes and your team are more willing to work with you. The pros are that the girls get some leadership, get some ownership, while you're still in control. This is great because they get that sense of the easygoing coach style where they're in control, they know what they're doing, and they're getting a say, which is huge, especially for your high school girls. They feel like they're old enough, they want a say. So this is a really helpful part for them. It gives you a chance to not just let them lead, but help them lead. You get to develop leaders best in the cooperative style, probably, because while you may select a handful of people to lead your squad, your captains, or any other office that you might have, this gives you a chance to work with them, to go with them, to sort of show them the way. You really get some one-on-one feedback, some feed into, again, a lot of the why and the how, without just the what. There are also some cons of the cooperative style. Finding that right balance can be incredibly tricky. You don't want to be their friend, you still want to be their leader, not necessarily their boss, but you also want to give them a say. So finding the right ways and the right instances in which they should have input can be difficult. The cooperative coach takes a lot of investment, especially relational investment. You have to make time to build these relationships. You have to make time for the laughter, for the fun. You also have to make time for them to make the decisions. It's really easy for you to say, this is what practice is going to look like today. These are the things we need to accomplish. This is what we're going to perform. And you can just get in there and knock it out, no problem. And there are some days when you'll need to be that authoritarian, organized person. But not all the time. There are days when you probably need to be a cooperative coach as well. So keep that in mind. It takes more time, but sometimes the results are better. Unfortunately, none of us fit right on any of these styles, which is a good thing. I tend to be somewhere between cooperative and authoritarian. I'm very businesslike. I try to give clear instructions. I'm a very task-oriented person, so this works for me in my style. But I also have a coach with me that is more of your easygoing, definitely very cooperative. She loves giving a lot of autonomy to the girls so that they can make these choices, and she's definitely the more relational one, which that's something I admire in her and I wish I was more like. But we can't all be that way. We're not all born that way. But relationships are incredibly important with your athletes. So whenever you're determining what style you want to be, what style you are, you need to consider maybe what your athletes need and maybe what your team needs as a whole. No style is perfectly right for any athlete or perfectly right for every athlete or perfectly right for every team. The athletes that have a lot of experience, they don't need a ton of babying, hand-holding, instruction. For example, we have many girls who come from competitive cheerleading. They've been doing cheerleading since they were 5. They don't need me to tell them every little bit of how to execute a proper prep. But what they do need to know is what I want them to do. And so these I take a slightly more direct approach. I don't give them a ton of instruction, a ton of hand-holding, because they don't need it. And they appreciate that. I talk to them more like I would a coach maybe than I do another athlete or cheerleader. But there are other athletes who need a ton of personal attention, not because they are craving it, but because they need this personal time, this one-on-one instruction. That is so crucial for some of these athletes who are more relational, who need to be shown what to do and not just told what to do. So in those cases, you need to be more of a cooperative coach, maybe even a little bit of an authoritarian because they need to know what to do. But it always helps to explain why you do things and not just what to do. I find that works across the spectrum of athletes. However, there are also teams that need different types of instruction. Last year, we had a team that was outrageously talented. I'm talking 23 girls, 5 of them had fulls, 3 of them had back tucks. I mean, just insane amount of talent, especially tumbling. They're great jumpers, they're great stunters, but because of that, they felt they could be a little bit more complacent and sort of goof around in practice. So with them, we had to take a more direct approach, a more authoritarian, business-like, professional approach. We really had to regulate practices a different way. Whereas this year, we still have some of those super talented girls, but we also have girls who have either never cheered before or have only been cheering for a year. And even then, they did very, very basic things. So finding the happy middle where we can maybe allow some of the older girls to give a little bit of instruction, so it's sort of an easygoing approach, combined with giving them our expertise, giving them the whys and the hows, and really being hands-on coaches. I would suggest never ever not being involved, never sitting completely out of the room and letting athletes, whether they're your captains, whether they're insanely talented or not, you need to have a presence there. You're a coach. You can't make a difference if you're not being involved. And so these girls really need more involvement. So when it comes to what kind of coach you are, what your coaching style is, you're not going to be one of the 3 directly. You're going to probably be somewhere in the spectrum, and you're going to have to learn to adapt those to the athletes and to the teams that you have from year to year, maybe even from day to day. I hope this was helpful, and if you'd like more information about cheerleading and coaching and even a little bit of choreography, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel or check us out on kateboydcheerleading.com.